and welcome to another episode of Threat Update. I'm Kilian Englert, and joining me today is Ryan O'Boyle. Ryan, how are you doing?
Hey, Kilian. Doing well. Thanks for having me on.
Thanks for being on. So we have a really great episode for everyone today. We know that a lot of people are leveraging cloud data stores like Box and like Google Workspace to share and collaborate, and it's been fantastic for that, especially as we are sort of working from anywhere at any time on any device. But there are a lot of hidden potential risks with leveraging these types of solutions. So Ryan, I know you've been working with a lot of customers and you've doing a lot of investigations into some of these cloud solutions. And we had kind of an interesting one around public links and how organizations can potentially be exposed without really even realizing it. So can you give us a little bit of background on that and some of the research you've done?
Sure. Organizations move to these data repositories or these cloud services for the collaboration features, right? The collaboration is there by design. It helps with our end user experience. We want to be able to collaborate. But the important thing here is that we're collaborating, efficiently and also securely. Too many times have we run into a scenario where organizations allow users to create things like public links. And in some cases, a public link might need a URL, or an external user might actually need the physical link in order to get their hands on the file or the spreadsheet through that public link. But even in some cases, especially through areas like Google and Box, you can expose this publicly and also make it indexable. So anybody scanning the internet can search for certain URLs of certain structure and be able to find these files and folders and potentially find organizations' critical data.
That's really scary. And I think a lot of people might not realize that. So Ryan, how would somebody go about doing a quick check to see if they have any exposed data? And what does that link structure look like if it is searchable and indexable?
Sure. So oftentimes it's really just as simple as a quick spot check. So you can go on something like Google, and if we're talking about Box, for example, the structure there is first you'll search site : your organization's name or the account ID, .box.com, and see if anything comes up. Now the URL itself is going to be a little bit longer. There's generally a couple strings in there and something related to the object ID. But at the end of the day, when we search something like this, you'll oftentimes find hits that come up. But keep in mind, if we can see these links on Google and other search engines, so can attackers as well. And
right.
I know we've all heard about the stories of the past. I know this happened a few years ago with Box and some of the custom URLs where they were kind of guessing or searching URLs using a brute force technique. Same thing could apply for the URLs today. They follow a very consistent structure in both Google and Box, and they can brute force strings like the object IDs that might allow them to get to those files.
Right.
And unfortunately, in some cases, that might also contain some sensitive data sometimes.
That's a really good piece of advice, and it's a really simple search query that organizations can use to double check and spot check that. We did have an example of Varonis up, and our CISO would be very proud. We're very locked down here in that case, but it's worth checking in your organization to find that. So Ryan, in terms of aside from just using that quick query, is there any other tips or advice you could provide to people if they might be concerned about public exposure or exposing that data out there or even external sharing?
Yeah. In some cases, it might not be possible to turn off, public sharing, or we might not really want to. Sometimes that's by design, but it's really important to make sure we understand the type of data that's being shared out, monitoring, who's doing the sharing, who's accessing that data through those sharing links. And especially if there's any sort of sensitive or, company critical data, we want to make sure that we know where it is and who can get to it. So that would be my big piece of advice, to make sure that we're monitoring that data appropriately.
That's great advice, and I think people out here leveraging these solutions will definitely appreciate it. So thank you, Ryan, for being on, and thank you all for watching. We really appreciate it. If you like this type of content, please consider subscribing to the channel. We do new videos every week, sometimes more often. Please consider giving us a like, and then, of course, leaving us a comment. Ryan and I definitely read those, and we really appreciate it. So Ryan, thank you again. Thank you all for watching. Look forward to talking to you again soon. Take care.